All right, friends, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to get rid of everything you think you believe you know about a quantum leap. And I'm going to invite you for the next, I hope, 20 minutes or so to keep an open mind and open heart. And I want to lay down this premise right off the bat, right at the beginning, to hook you to watch the rest of this video in understanding this premise. What a quantum leap really is, and what a lot of people aren't very adept at explaining, is an identity shift. An identity shift is a radical psychological shift in your experience of reality. And there's a lot of people who teach about quantum leaps, about quantum shifts, and how to do them, and how to shift overnight, how to get instant results. But if you're like me, I don't want instant results. I want lasting results. I want transformation that I can measure and track over time. I want to build on a really strong foundation of a new identity of being that only gets more and more and more of what she wants or he wants. If you're watching and you want to know more about what this entails and you want to know how to concretize this, I'm going to give you 5 things. I'm going to lay it out very practically and in ways that you can take this into your life, and it's incredibly applicable wherever you are right now. Okay, so if you are new to this channel, hello, my name is Catherine Massell, and I mentor visionary entrepreneurs and conscious creators, and I help them reconnect with their genius and purpose and their passion and their prosperity. And so this video is no different than any of my other videos, because we're going to talk about big themes. We're going to talk about metaphysical stuff, but I'm going to bring it down to earth for you, because a lot of the things that are taught about quantum leaps, they're not very grounded. Anybody can quantum leap, so let's take this off the pedestal right away. Anybody can experience a radical psychological shift. When we have traumatic things happen in our life, you're having a quantum leap, and it does change your identity. It changes you. You know, things that have a very high emotional charge, whether that emotional charge is something very happy, or whether it's something very sad, or causes you anger, or fear, or resentment, either one of those things are radical psychological shifts. They will shift your reality. They change you. But just like an event can happen to create an inner change, it goes both ways. You can instigate an inner change to dictate a different series of outer events. And so that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to empower you to do. So why does this matter? Why does it matter? Why do you want a quantum leap? Well, maybe you've been noticing that things aren't really going exactly the way that you would like them to. And you have these best laid plans. You have, maybe you're taking radical, bold action. Maybe you are showing up every day, creating some momentum towards what you want, but you don't feel any different. And that's the kicker, because what you want to do is be able to feel differently. And if you can reshape, mold your inner state of being, your interiority, into feeling differently, then the circumstances outside of you are really just a mirror. The only purpose of the world outside of you is to show you how you are feeling. The world in and of itself can't give you anything. It can't supply anything for you. Inherently, it has no power to do so. It's just a mirror. It's just a reflection of what you are feeling and thinking. The entire paradigm of who you are inside, your inner reality, is always going to be shown on the projector screen of what you call outer reality, to show you either where you're on track with what you want in your life or where you're off track. So if you've been noticing that you're off track with the things that you want in your life, please watch the whole video, because I'm going to, again, lay things down very specifically and in a very grounded way, so you come away from this video with stuff that you can actually implement wherever you're at right now and start building some momentum, start building a strong foundation. Let go of this idea of instant results, because instant results don't often lead to lasting change. And sometimes instant results can be such a radical and profound shift in your experience of reality that your fear kicks in, your nervous system kicks in, what's familiar to you kicks in. That reptilian brain says, whoa, pump the brakes there, sister or brother. We got to pull back on this thing entirely. Let's bail, because this doesn't feel good. So if you want to build up a new foundation of you that does feel progressively better and better and better and better and more at home in this new frequency of you, you've got to build it deliberately. This is not a passive process. It's a very active process. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. So an identity shift. Think about an identity shift as not trying to get rid of who you've been before. Let's just call it the 1.0 version of you. If you're building a 2.0 version of you that you would equate in your mind or in your imagination as being a better version of you, a higher ideal of you, someone that is feeling a little more healthy, feeling a little more connected and has better communication in his or her relationships, or is experiencing greater wealth and prosperity. Money is easy for you. If you want to be able to move ahead, progress in whatever career track you're in, or your life's work, and you want to have a higher and better expression of that. All of those things are up levels, and each new up level requires a different version of you. So just embrace that. Embrace that as a truth, as a working premise, okay? And even if you don't want to completely believe that that's true, it doesn't matter, because if you do the things that I'm inviting you to do, they'll still work for you, whether you totally believe this or not, okay? So let's talk about the very first thing. So number one, understand that shifting your identity to a higher ideal version of you is the truth of you, okay? You are an abundant being. You are a creator being. You are born of love, and you will return to that. Love is the mana of all creation. And what produces more love? What allows you to move into the vibration of more love? Ease. What allows you to move into the vibration of a higher ideal and expression of you, which is just you and all the love that you are, unperturbed, unfettered by thoughts that contradict that, feelings about yourself, beliefs about yourself, ideas, assumptions about yourself that conflict with that, okay? A higher identity of you, a higher expression of you is really just you. It's you, the naturalness of you, who you were always meant to be. So don't think of this better version of you as something you have to create. Don't think of it that way at all, as a matter of fact. Think of it as something you discover, because creation is finished. Everything's already here. So if you have in your mind, in your imagination, a version of you that's making more money, feeling healthy, and more vitality and well-being, has better communication and connection in your relationships, is finding and living with and enjoying life with your soulmate partner, that's just the version of you that's the higher ideal that already exists. She or he is already here. So you're not creating her or him. You are discovering her or him. And so what I'm asking you to do as we move into 2025, think of your 1.0 version of self as a series of patterns that led to an overall identity, a way of defining yourself and your reality at large. To move into your 2.0 version, your higher ideal, your better expression of self, is really just the truth of you. It's really just you and your naturalness of being, you who you were always meant to be. It's the 1.0 version and all these ideas that he or she got about himself or herself or about reality that confused and kind of mucked up the works, okay? So we're unbecoming that. We're unraveling that. And that comes to you if you are operating in a core principle of ease, okay? The vibration of moving into the naturalness of being is ease. Think about it. It makes sense when you break it down this way. Like, what begets more ease? Ease. You know, it always kills me. You know, I was brought up, maybe like many of you were, that, you know, you work hard, you work hard, you work hard. Eventually you'll be able to settle into ease. When? When does that magical threshold show up? You know, is it something that just, is it a switch that gets turned on by me or someone else that has control or is pulling the puppet strings? I mean, when does it switch over that you work hard, you work hard, you work hard, you slave and you force and you hustle and you grind, and then one day, poof, it's just easy? No. Doesn't it make more sense that if you start with an energy and a vibration of ease, you're going to attract and magnetize and be in a vibration that naturally calls more ease to you, right? So number one, adopt ease as a core operating principle. So develop a very deliberate practice of orienting yourself towards ease. But this isn't passive. That means don't do anything. But think about ease as flow. So this includes a lot of self-trust, okay? Trust that things can unfold without force. Trust that you are incredibly resourceful. Trust that you are a creator being and you're here to experience the playground of life. You, me, and everyone else, everyone you know, we're all here to experience the playground of life. We got this idea that life has to be full of suffering and struggling and it has to be hard. That's one way to experience life, absolutely. And there are a lot of things, a lot of impactful situations on this planet that right now, people are in a place of suffering. People are in a place of struggle. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you don't have to put all of your energy and attention on all the things that are going wrong. One of the simplest ways to adopt ease in your life is to focus more on the things that are going right. There's that ease principle again, as a core principle of your being. If you're focused more on the things that are easy to you, the things that feel light, the things that are really simple for you, that are natural things to who you are, things you like to do, things that come easy to you, things that you could talk about easily, things that you can do easily, things that you're very good at, the things that seem to flow in your life, no matter what you do to try to stop it, it keeps going in a certain direction, like in a good way. Focus on that. And this matters because it aligns with your vision of creating from a place of balance and abundance, and it amplifies both joy and impact. Because when you are exhibiting your experience of life, you're out in the world and you have a kind of ease about you, that's a vibration. People can feel that on you. And that's contagious. It has a real wonderful ripple effect, because when people feel that on you, like, hey, if that person can do it, maybe I can too. And it just causes people to kind of question, like, where could I, give up a little bit of the struggle in my life? A lot of if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of the times we experience struggle and suffering, these are self-imposed things, because the way we think about reality, the way we think about ourselves, the way we think about the world is just this one-dimensional thing. Life is full of suffering and struggling. You can certainly think that way. A lot of people do. But is that going to be the ease in which that you're going to call in more ease to your life? So think about the things that you can do in a very tangible way, that you can kind of strip down extraneous stuff that you're doing. Maybe there's some subscriptions that you have that are causing you like a little unease with your finances, or things that you're spending that you could like pull back a little bit. It's not really helping you. It's not really driving you towards this dream, this ideal self that you're imagining. Be honest with yourself and just start to pull your energy back from some of those things. Less is more in my world. And this is what I teach you in Coherence program, which is coming up on January 15th, by the way. That info and that link is down below. And also, this is what I teach in Visionary School, the less is more paradigm. When you learn how to do more with less, you need less in order to experience more. Yeah, think about that one. When you learn how to do more with less, you will need less in order to experience more. It's this beautiful golden rule that I live by, teach my clients how to do it. You can learn it too. Anybody can learn this. But it is really about pulling ourselves back from places where we're creating unnecessary, unwelcome pressure for ourselves, okay? So number 2, play as an act of creation. The presiding force in the universe, that is, let's call it consciousness. You can call it the field. You can call it unity. You can call it God. You can call it whatever you want. It's consciousness. And consciousness itself is very, very curious. If it wasn't, there wouldn't be so many iterations and expressions of life, or what we call life. How many different species there are. How many different ways of expressing love. How many different things that make up the mycelium network. I mean, there's so many things to know as part of this world. And that's just this world, let alone whatever else is out in the cosmos at large, right? There is so much that makes up creation. And if consciousness itself wasn't endlessly curious and experienced itself through you as a fractal of that consciousness, then we would cease to be. We wouldn't even be, having this discussion right now, right? Play is an act of creation. So treat play as an act of creation in your world. Treat it like a game, okay? Like you're on this playground and you're in this great sandbox of life and you have all the toys, all the resources, they're all available to you, really. The process itself of creating, or let's call it discovering your ideal reality, is a process in and of itself. That's the reward. Learn to see the journey and the process as the reward. Because if we're constantly framing outcomes outside of us as this end-all be-all thing, whatever you're pedestal placing, the money, the relationship, the better career, the more clients, whatever you're pedestal placing, you're making your happiness, your joy, your abundance contingent upon, circumstantial to, this thing that you're putting on the pedestal, this thing that you're worshiping, okay? That thing in and of itself, what you would recognize as being part of your outer experience, cannot give you anything. It can't supply any feeling to you that you can't feel already and decide to experience already through your own volition, through your own movement of will, okay? This thing that you're pedestal placing, it's this high stakes thing, and we tend to we psych ourselves out by making this thing so grandiose that we put ourselves into nervous system burnout in trying to get it. We chase it. We create it as this ideal that is like, it's over here and we're over there. We have this incredible separation anxiety that we create for ourselves because we think this thing is outside of us. We think it's better than us. We think we have to be worthy enough to get it. All those things are bullshit. Okay? None of those things are true. You are of creation. You are, and we're talking about the mirror principle here, but we're also talking about the unity principle in the sense that you are everything and everyone, just under different circumstances. So that thing you're pedestal placing is also you. How can you be unworthy of you? Okay? That's a very simplistic way to break it down, but for the sake of stopping this process, arresting this process of thinking of this thing that you want as separate from you, as better than you, or you have to be better to get it, all that is bullshit. These are all mental constructs that are fucking you up. So let all of that go. None of that is true. And you will reduce so much internal pressure that you're feeling to make the right moves, get instant results where you can have this thing tomorrow and then you'll be happy, then you'll feel joyful, then you'll feel fulfilled, then you'll feel satisfied, then you'll feel worthy. It's all bullshit. Let it go. Instead, be curious about the process. Be curious about, one of the things that is a good way to convince you that a quantum leap, instant results just for the sake of it, is not really the most wholesome thing to you, is that when you are taking time and giving space to your creation or your discovery process of your highest timeline, your highest ideal self of being, when you give yourself some space and some room to take that journey bit by bit, process by process, and really be with yourself on this journey of unraveling, this journey of becoming, you get a gift that is irreplaceable. You get to know yourself better. And every time you get to know yourself better, you get to love yourself more. Those things always go together. Don't miss out on that opportunity. Don't skimp on that. Because when you're moving to like instant results and you're creating this massive identity shift, and there are parts of you within that are still unloved, there are parts of you within that are still existing in shadow, there are parts within that are still, living in this identity of trauma, you're going to sabotage those instant results. You may get this thing, but it'd be just as quick as it came in, it's going to be fleeting and quickly find a way to leave your field. Trust me on this. Ask me how I know. So enhance the curious process of, what can this journey teach me about myself? How can I through this process know more about myself and love myself more? This is going to encourage your authenticity to really shine, because if you know yourself more and you love yourself more, you're going to want other people to see more of you. because you're finally happy seeing more of you. Play. If you want to experience an authentic outer experience, you have to have an authentic inner experience. Stop the overthinking. Stop with these ideas of any kind of unworthiness or any of those other bullshit themes that the 1.0 version of you suffered from. You don't have to do that to yourself anymore, okay? So on that, it leads into number 3, which is detachment from outcomes. This is a hard one for people, and this is something I talk about quite a bit in Coherence Program and in all my teaching containers. Detachment is a lot of things. I have a lot of definitions for detachment, but one of the biggest things in detaching from outcomes, and the way to really do it, is to be in love with the process of, yeah, you're unbecoming 1.0 version of self, but you're becoming, or let's just say, unraveling all the things that kept you up to this point from discovering the 2.0 version of you. Let that process be a joyful one. Let it, as you discover these, what I call gifts in the garbage, meaning it's inevitable. You're going to find things about yourself you don't really like very much, and you're going to interface with those things and maybe see yourself in a different way. But if you are in the process of, hey, I love what's happening. I love that I'm moving into more of my creative capability. I love that I'm embracing the process. Then you're going to love those bits and pieces of yourself that are coming into the light, maybe for the first time in your life, and say, I know why he or she is still there. I've never fully accepted this part of me. I'm not going to try to swat away or try to slay this version of me. Instead, I'm going to accept that this version or this aspect of me has been around for so long, hanging around, growing cobwebs inside somewhere, because I've never let myself to be raw and authentic with this aspect. I've never really allowed myself to witness this aspect in all the fullness of it, because before I felt like I would be undone by it, that I would succumb to it. But instead I realized it's just a part of me. It's just a part of me that allowed me to get to where I am, for better or worse. And that's okay. I don't have to get rid of her or him. I don't have to swat away at this. I don't have to be uncomfortable with it anymore. I can just notice and accept. And when you do that, man, everything really changes. That's really the identity shift. That's the huge piece. That's detachment, because detachment is this ability to be with what used to be painful up until now, or what used to be uncomfortable or uneasy up until now, and say, you know what? I'm looking at this from a different version of me. I'm looking at this from a version of me that has more love for myself, understanding of myself, and is proud of myself, maybe more so than ever before. So I can look at these things with a fresh lens. I can look at myself with a fresh pair of eyes. And when I do so, what I'm looking at changes, because you have changed. And it's only because, and only and ever, that you have changed in your inner reality that the things outside of you will appear differently, including the things that, or the aspects of you that maybe you haven't liked very much up until now. So you're able to, and this does go together, when you're able to detach in that way where you can fully accept, like, this is just me. I allow that this is me. I'm not gonna say that this part of me is bad. There is no good or bad inherently in the universe. The universe, the cosmos, the whole cosmological order is inherently just neutral. It's impartial. It's the meaning, the labeling, the judging that we assign that gives things some sort of emotional charge, some meaning, some mental construct that we conceptualize. That's the thing that makes it sting or makes it feel easy to us. So be willing to change those definitions. And doing that is changing your identity. So when you're thinking about what you're creating, who you're becoming, this 2.0 version of self, cultivate a mindset of offering this creation, this discovery of your 2.0 version of self, if you will, to the world as being received beautifully, received authentically, because you're finally receiving yourself authentically. And for all the haters, trolls, anybody who doesn't want to receive you authentically, that's their shit to work on. It doesn't have anything to do with you, okay? Let this discovery of yourself be a contribution. Be a contribution to consciousness. Because when you accept yourself in this new radical way, not only is that the key gateway to an identity shift that sticks and has lasting transformational results in your life that you keep building on, but you just become you become a leader by example. Like, other people can feel this change on you. They feel the genuineness in you. They feel the authenticity, and they want that too. That's the contribution, because that might be the ripple effect that allows one other person to question where they could be more authentic, or where they haven't been very authentic or real or genuine up until now, and where they might like to change that. Never discount the fact that you can be a leader by example. That's the best way for all of us to be leaders in this world, is to hold a vibration that is authentic and real, and in a way that makes us a little vulnerable, because we stop wearing the masks that we thought we needed up until this point. But when you do that, when you're showing up in that real way, it's just natural that you're going to detach from outcomes more and more, because you realize, if I'm just holding this vibration of my authenticity, of course, anything that matches that as the perfect vibration in the outer experience of reality is going to come to me. Of course it will. It's a no-brainer. It's a done deal. It's already locked in. That allows for the detachment. Staying true to that authentic vibration allows you to detach from outcomes, because you just know. You just know that everything that you want is going to come to you in that place, in that vibration. Present moment engagement. I can't say enough about this one. So, one of the things that I teach in Coherence program, is the first thing that you taught really, is the present moment awareness and the breath. And it's not a breath process, it's just deep breathing. Because when you're concentrated on deep breathing, you're concentrated on and you're attentive to present moment awareness. When you're attentive to present moment awareness, you're attentive to deep breathing. Those things go together. It's a beautiful marriage. And only when you're in that expression are you really fully already immersed in the truth of who you are. You're in the here and now. So you're accessing the eternal, infinite nature of yourself. And you can build these micro practices throughout the day. I like it in the morning. I like to do it at night. But even if you have 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there throughout your day, it allows you to shift from, being a slave to the mental constructs and the mental narrative that you have that's the 1.0 version of self, and allows you to break from tradition, allows you to break from that version of you, and allows you to stay connected to your immediate experience. This is where you can gauge what's going on, what you're feeling, where your feelings are either in alignment with creating more of the experience you prefer, or where they're out of alignment with more of the experience that you prefer. So this matters because the hypothetical futures, the mind fuckery that we have it's really they're phantoms, they're echoes. They are really just figments of what has been. And if you don't create, a micro practices throughout the day of breaking yourself from that, it's very, very hard to move into a new pattern. And a new pattern of you is the new identity of you. It's the quantum leap that sticks. It's the quantum leap that has landing gear. So you have to be able to constantly break yourself from the reality that you have the ability to affect, which is only and ever right now. And how do you expect to do that if you aren't present with the now? Okay. So number 5. Radical authenticity. I've talked about this a few times. Being genuine. Taking a risk to be vulnerable is one of the best risks that you can ever take, because it's an embracing, it's an embodying of trust. When you move into and exhibit radical authenticity, it's like embracing your imperfection. This was a hard one for me to learn. I'm Capricorn. I'm very hypervigilant because of how I grew up, constantly monitoring my thoughts, constantly monitoring my inner world, constantly second guessing what I do and what I said and whatever. It's very, very hard work to keep that up. It's exhausting. But if you learn to embrace imperfection, you let yourself off the hook for a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, and I'll say this just because I need to say it out loud because some of you need to hear it. No one is thinking about you as much as you are thinking about you. So when you're worried about how you come off or how you look or the optics of you, okay, how you appear, what image you're conveying, I can tell you this from a lot of experience and doing this work for about 25 years now. No one really gives a shit. Everybody's too busy thinking about themselves. So there's that. But I'll tell you what is much more alluring, sexy as hell, and enticing for people to see is people who are willing to embrace their imperfection, to be okay with who they are because they have a kind of ease about them. They don't have this hypervigilance of constantly monitoring and making sure they look the right way or say the right things or have the right image on social media or whatever the fuck that stuff is. You will build stronger, more meaningful connections, have greater communication with people because your unique signature has changed to embrace and embody radical authenticity. Trust me when I say people care much more about that than they do about what you're wearing. What you're saying, of course, is important because you don't want to be an asshole, but you want to make sure that you're not cultivating everything that you say so carefully that you come off robotic or you come off unfeeling or maybe feeling too much, right? Maybe you go the other way. Let yourself be raw. Let yourself be unpolished because this is what makes us deeply human. In your work, in your relationships, in life in general. It will help you build stronger connections, helps you express without the constraints of trying to over-curate what you're saying and what you're doing or the image that you're presenting. And when you are discovering your 2.0 version of self, your identity that if you want to still call it quantum leap, fine, it's really an identity shift. Embrace these 5 things. Keep them top of mind for yourself. So come back to this video often, remind yourself, take notes, hopefully maybe you just sat through this and just really heard it and took it in. But the next time you listen, take notes on it, write it down. And as a helpful little measure, I'm going to write this down and put it in the comments because this will help you to create new patterns in 2025 that naturally allow you to move into the identity of you that you were always meant to be. Like if you think of the 2.0 version of self, that's just you as you were always meant to be, you and your naturalness. So apply these things, use them. I don't care where you think you are or how far you're off from being authentic right now. This gets to change right now if you allow it. There's no permission needed outside of you. You give yourself permission to make this change now. And I hope that you do. And I hope that you come back to this video and let me know how you got on with some of this stuff. And if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer some of your questions in the comments. So see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.